It's been 165 days, 5.5 months, since the nomination of Loretta Lynch to be Attorney General was announced. Ms. Lynch has been pending on the Senate executive calendar for nearly 2 months. She was reported out of the Senate Judiciary Committee on a bipartisan vote, 9 Democrats, 3 Republicans, on February 26th. This is a new record, sadly, in terms of delay in appointing an Attorney General. The last 7 nominees to be Attorney General of the United States combined waited on the Senate floor 24 months. 24 days. 7 nominees, 24 days. Sadly, Ms. Lynch has now been waiting over 50 days. Why? What is it about this nominee that causes so much of a problem? Well, nothing came up at the Judiciary Committee hearing to suggest a problem. Yes, she was appointed by Barack Obama, wants to be appointed. Yes, she has said that she will serve this president. But when it came to her personally, nothing. In fact, we have this tradition. After the nominee has testified under oath, then experts are brought in. Each party can bring an expert in to testify for or against the Attorney General nominee. Senator Patrick Leahy, the ranking Democrat on Judiciary, said to the assembled group, I think there might have been 10 or 12 of these outside witnesses, which of you, by show of hands, objects to the nomination of Loretta Lynch for Attorney General? Not a single one raised his hand. None. So even the witnesses that were brought to speak in negative terms all conceded that she should be Attorney General. Mr. President, that's rare. It's rare to have a nominee with that kind of affirmation come out of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And for good reason. When you look at her record, you can understand why. This young woman has an extraordinary record of service. She grew up in North Carolina as the daughter of a minister and a school librarian. Her dad was there, and her father was smiling as she recalled those instances when she was a very young girl, and he would sit her on his shoulders and take her to see the civil rights events that occurred when she was so young. She received her undergraduate and law degrees from Harvard University, private sector experience in prestigious law firms, twice confirmed unanimously by the Senate to serve as U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. She served in that position with distinction. Her nomination has been endorsed by such a wide range of groups representing law enforcement, prosecutors, bar associations, business leaders, civil rights organizations, and former Justice Department officials from both Democratic and Republican administrations. And in what may be one of the most amazing ironies of this whole situation, Loretta Lynch has been recognized as a leader when it comes to prosecuting human traffickers. Why is that significant? Because the Republican leader announced that he was holding up her nomination until we passed a bill on human trafficking. Here is a woman who, as a prosecutor and a professional, has prosecuted the people guilty of that crime, who is being delayed in her appointment as Attorney General of the United States of America because of a political debate on the floor of the Senate for almost 4 weeks over this bill. Under Ms. Lynch's leadership, her U.S. Attorney's Office has brought many important prosecutions in human trafficking. In U.S. versus Lopez Perez, 3 brothers were convicted in 2014 for running a human trafficking ring involving 14 and 15-year-old girls. Ms. Lynch was also involved in the successful prosecution of the Granados Hernandez sex trafficking ring, in which numerous child victims were subsequently reunited with their mothers. In U.S. versus Johnson, Ms. Loretta Lynch was involved in a prosecution where a Queens man was convicted for trafficking and prostituting a 15-year-old girl out of his home. Make no mistake, when it comes to the issue of human trafficking, This nominee for Attorney General knows more about the subject than most and has a record to prove it. Malika Sada Sar, the Executive Director of Rights for Girls, is one of the nation's leading anti-trafficking advocates. She said, quote, "It is clear that as the top prosecutor in Brooklyn, New York, Loretta Lynch has a strong record of being tough on crime and human trafficking," end of quote. And she's being held up on the floor because of our failure to pass a bill on that same subject. Here's what the president of the National District Attorneys Association, Michael Moore, said about Ms. Loretta Lynch when he wrote to express his organization's strong support, and I quote, "As prosecutors facing challenges in the field from violent crime to human trafficking to gangs and drug traffickers, our membership feels that Ms. Lynch understands the operational nature of these challenges and will be a strong, independent voice at the helm of the department." Calling a vote on Ms. Lynch and confirming her would be a big step forward in the fight against trafficking. It's time to end this delay and obstruction. This extraordinary woman, nominated by the President of the United States to be the first African-American woman to serve as Attorney General, should have been approved by the Senate long ago. While she has been waiting patiently for a long, long time, we have interrupted the business of the Senate to approve the President's appointments as Assistant Secretary of Transportation, Assistant Secretary of Commerce, Federal Mine Safety and Health Review Commissioners, the Federal Retirement Thrift Investment Board members, the Undersecretary for Management at the Department of Homeland Security, the Chairman of the National Indian Gaming Commission, and several federal judges. We've had more than adequate opportunity to call Ms. Lynch for approval. Let us not leave Washington this week without voting on Loretta Lynch to be our next Attorney General. I voted for her in committee and will proudly support her nomination in the hopes that it will come to the floor this week.